We're going to talk about the H5P tool and what the advantages are in using it. First of all, I'll point out that when we get a video that we're going to use for educational purposes, it's not uncommon that we will just basically assume that it's going to start to finish. So we have, the beginning of the piece, we put that in there, and then there's the assumption that it's going to be operated in a linear fashion where you'll have to go until basically the end of the movie. Once you get to the finish, then essentially they're done, even if it took longer than you wanted it to take. Now with the H5P tool, we can rethink how we use video in class or individually. Say we want to start at 10 minutes in. We can set that up so that's where it starts. But then we don't want to go to the end. We want to go to another point after they say a few minutes of that. Then we'll go to 23 minutes in. And then we also want to go ahead and go back to, say, a point in the middle there in this sequence. So we go to point 3, and then we go to the very end that we did want them to see the conclusion of the entire piece. So that's one way you can use H5P to sort of hop around in a video and go to different points according to whatever suits your educational needs. Secondly, if you pull up a video that you want to use and you want to have it go to 2 other places, say, depending on how well the student is doing, did they answer correctly or not, you can take them to another place where they can reinforce the previous learning, or you can have them move forward to another video entirely. At any point in the video, you can say, hey, there's 2 other places you can go to. The application stays closed, but it'll open these other videos. And then lastly, say you have a video clip, but it's reinforced by some additional artifacts, perhaps a couple of PDF documents or an image or a combination of the above. You can have it allow the students to click a link. It'll open that window in a separate tab, and then they'll be able to download those so that they can open them and save them on their screen while the application is still running. So that's the basic things we're looking at here. These are all done through video interactions. Now, the video interactions are all going to be at the top of the application as you're editing it. And while there's about 15 of these different interactions, they break roughly into 3 groups. The first group will add something to the screen. It'll add a label, text, a spreadsheet, a hyperlink, or an image. And some of these have further interactions you can add to them. The next group is the assessment group. And here you have a fashion for putting in comments or putting in questions or doing drop and drag, true, false, or fill in the blank questions. And we'll talk about those. While these are different interactions, the actual choices you have in terms of how you program this are very similar in each of these. And the last pair allow you to either go to different places within this video, as we showed earlier, and the last one is a hotspot, which will take you to an external place or another point in the same video. So after going through the settings, we're going to take a look at the video interactions that were just described. This video has already been inserted in there, and sure enough, at the very top of that, we have all of these choices for what we can use. Now, I will point out right out of the gate that the most obvious of these is label. This really can't be overstated, though, because if you're trying to reinforce any points that are on the video that are germane to your class or to what you want them to notice, you can just actually put those on there and say, hey, look at this or notice this. So let's take a look at that. As a student sees it, you'll notice at the bottom of the screen there are all these indicators of places where it stops. Each of these dotted lines indicates a bookmark. And right now, though, there's no indicators that there is one here, but there's a label that we're about to see as we run this. So right there, you'll see the label shows up. And this is self-evident in terms of how this is being used, but there's countless ways to use labels. So once again, these are vital and easy to do. The way we add that is we simply come up here and click Label, and it will tell you when it wants to start and when it should stop and whether the video will pause while the label is up. Now, standard rule of practice, if you're going to pause the video, there's no reason having it extended. So if I'm going to pause this video and the label comes up and the video is going to stop completely, the student can just re-engage it to proceed. I will make this always a second long. It turns out, though, I would like this to be 30 seconds in the piece, and I want it to start at 15 seconds in the piece because I know that that is when that area comes up in the video that I want to draw certain attention to something else. And what is going to go in the label clearly is just there. The next interaction is called text. It's a little deceptive, though, because it's more than just text on a screen. But let's go ahead and click that. And you'll see that we have, once again, options of either having it pause or just play through. If you're going to have an interaction, there's some logic, once again, to pausing the video, but making sure that the video is only a second long, so it starts and stops without missing anything or advancing. So I'll just make this 04. Now, once again, it's going to pause when it gets here. Now, it's going to pause as this button appears, and a button looks like this. And then it shows a sign or whatever you have put in the other field. Or if you have a button and you want it to advance somewhere else, when you click this, it will open where you put that information. And this little window here indicates that it's going to take you somewhere else. This is going to take you to a different point in the clip. So I have this set up to go to the end of it, but that's how that works. Instead of a button though, perhaps you wanted to pause the video, so it's set to pause for a single second. And it says it's going to open a poster. So rather than clicking the button which opens the poster, which may have an interaction attached, we just put up the poster. And a poster is just an image, in this case text obviously, and it's going to display this. It's going to display reading requires being alone in a room. And then it's going to say that it will take you somewhere else if you go there. So I've come down here and I put in type another page, protocol, and that link. And then what will happen is when they click that box, it will open up this other video clip so they can see that while leaving the application itself open. Now I'm also going to hit visualize, which shows a bit more of an icon adjacent to the poster, or rather attached to the poster. That lets the student know that they can move forward from there. So let's take a look at that. So what will happen now is the actual poster will pop up, and it can be larger than this, and you can adjust the size fairly readily in the interaction. However, there's this little icon here that lets me know I can go somewhere else, which will open the other clip. And then we see that open, and then I can listen to that 2-minute clip and then close it and go right back to where we were and hit play. The third interactive tool is the spreadsheet or table tool. And if you click it, you can see some of the options there. I would display it as a poster rather than a button to have it pop up. You can label it, but this section here is neither intuitive nor necessarily helpful. And if you click into it, you can see there are quite a few different settings here, and some of it are duplicates and some of them are a little glitchy. So I pretty much recommend people do not use this tool. If one needs a table, I strongly recommend one makes that table, saves it as an image, and then puts that image in the piece, and that's a better workaround. The fourth tool is a very simple tool. It is the standard hyperlink tool. So one just comes up here and clicks this, which will give you these standard controls. Once again, 1 second pause is recommended, otherwise it will fly by arguably. You can have it up for a length of time, but the student will have to notice that and indicate that they would like to do something with it. But the pause makes more sense. This title is what's going to show in the display, and they will be able to read that title, and then it will reference, of course, this hyperlink. And below that, you'll see that it says there's a background color, and we'll do a semi-transparent background color with a box shadow around that, and that looks like this. And here you can see the title, and it looks pretty sharp, and the background box actually has an oval put into it. And of course you have this indicator here that indicates it's a hyperlink. If we click that, once again it'll open in the other tab. The insert image tool is helpful in a couple of ways. First of all, you can obviously just insert an image. You can also put some controls with that image that it becomes a hyperlink. So in this case, I chose to have this image and then there's a hyperlink connected to it, and I can also see a pop-up of what's going to show up in a new window that I put those commands in myself. Let's take a look at those real quick. One will notice how similar the controls are from interaction to interaction. So once again, I have this pause for a single second. I'm going to display this as a poster because there's no sense having a button that will later open an image. And then if it happens to be on a handheld device, it will become a button so it doesn't dominate the screen. And then I have the image that we saw, and I can put whatever image I'd like there and there. It does ask for alternative text, although very often a video format isn't ideal for people with sight issues. And let's go to visuals here, and then I can see that once again I can get a background color and a shadow around it, but also I can make it a link, as I said, same exact as before. There's a couple of types of drop downs. It can either go to a URL or a time code, and this is set to go to a outside link.